How did it feel in that moment?
You know, emotional. It was the first time it really, well, I told my staff and my crew, and that was emotional. And I'm glad that before it leaked, I got to tell my staff and my crew from my own words.
Imagine a woman whose every move once radiated warmth, generosity, and laughter. A figure so universally adored that millions invited her into their living rooms daily. She gave away cars, danced with strangers, and made celebrities feel at ease. Yet, by 2020, that same woman was facing a storm of public criticism, a tidal wave of scrutiny that turned the Be Kind Queen into one of Hollywood's most controversial figures. Behind the confetti, cameras, and viral moments, a 19-season empire was quietly unraveling. This is the story of fame and power colliding with perception, of a persona that became bigger than the person it masked. This is the story of the rise and fall of Ellen DeGeneres and why everyone hates her. The making of Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres came from a household shaped by strict Christian Science beliefs. No alcohol, no smoking, no swearing, no medicine. Even something as small as aspirin was forbidden. Prayer was the cure for everything. Illness meant you hadn't prayed hard enough. Emotional pain wasn't even discussed. For a child, this meant learning very early how to hide feelings. She didn't visit a doctor's office until she was 13. In 1973, her parents separated, forcing Ellen to become an emotional caretaker. Then, in 1976, her mother remarried. The family tried to rebuild in Atlanta, Texas. Around the same time, Betty was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to get a mastectomy. Ellen, only 16, helped care for her mother's recovery. During this same period, Ellen experienced abuse by her stepfather. Back then, she didn't fully understand what was happening at the time and kept it secret for years. When she eventually told her mother, she wasn't believed. That moment broke something inside her. She briefly enrolled at the University of New Orleans to study communications, but dropped out after one semester due to financial pressure. From there, life became a patchwork of jobs. She worked at a law office. She sold clothes at JCPenney. She waited tables at TGI Fridays. She painted houses, bartended, and hosted. Then, in 1980, tragedy struck again. Ellen had been in a relationship with a woman named Kathy Perkoff. The two had broken up temporarily, but they were still deeply connected. One night, Kathy died in a car accident at age 23. Ellen learned about the crash the next morning. The grief was overwhelming. She couldn't afford rent, so she ended up sleeping on a mattress in a flea-infested basement. It was there, at one of the lowest points of her life, that comedy found her. Lying awake, grieving, and questioning everything, she began imagining what it would be like to call God on the phone and ask why her girlfriend had died. The idea became a stand-up routine. The phone call to God bit would become the foundation of her career. In 1981, she walked into Clyde's Comedy Club in New Orleans and told the owner she was a comedian. She had no experience, just instinct and pain transformed into jokes. 1 year later, in 1982, she entered Showtime's national competition, Funniest Person in America. She won. Suddenly, the woman juggling odd jobs had national attention. The win launched years of touring and late-night sets. She moved to San Francisco to sharpen her skills in clubs like The Punchline and Cobb's, performing multiple shows a night. Her style stood out immediately. In an era dominated by edgy, controversial stand-up, Ellen was different. Observational, clean, subtle. Then came the moment that changed everything. In November 1986, she appeared on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. The performance was built around the phone call to God routine. Carson loved it. After her set, he did something historic. He invited her to sit on the couch. It was a rare honor, especially for a first-time comedian, and almost unheard of for a woman at the time. That moment turned Ellen DeGeneres into a national name overnight. The next years were filled with small television roles and early sitcom attempts that didn't last long. Shows like Open House and Lauryn Hill were short-lived, but Hollywood began to notice something different about her. She wasn't edgy. She wasn't outrageous. She was approachable. By the early 1990s, the industry saw what audiences had started to feel. Ellen had built a clean comedy brand. It felt safe, warm, relatable. This was just the beginning. Coming out and the Hollywood backlash. By the mid-1990s, Ellen DeGeneres had climbed to a place many comedians spend decades chasing. She had her own network sitcom, steady ratings, and a growing reputation as one of the safest and most likable personalities on television. Her sitcom, Ellen, premiered on ABC in March 1994. At first, it wasn't even called Ellen. The original title was These Friends of Mine, a simple ensemble comedy about a quirky bookstore owner named Ellen Morgan and her circle of friends. And it was light, safe, and designed to fit neatly into America's family-friendly primetime lineup. By 1995, ABC renamed the show Ellen. For 3 seasons, the show performed respectably. It wasn't a runaway hit, but it was stable. Behind the scenes, though, Ellen was wrestling with a secret that had shaped her life and career. By the mid-1990s, she was one of the most famous closeted celebrities in America. Rumors had circulated for years, but publicly, nothing had been confirmed. But in 1996 and early 1997, everything changed. Ellen decided to come out. On April 14, 1997, she appeared on the cover of Time magazine with 3 words printed beside her photo. Yep, I'm gay. It was a cultural earthquake. No leading sitcom star had ever come out publicly at the height of their career. The announcement was strategic. 2 weeks later, her television character would come out too. April 30th, 1997. Season 4, Episode 22. The episode was titled The Puppy Episode. It became one of the most anticipated television broadcasts of the decade. ABC didn't treat it like a normal sitcom episode. The network attached a parental advisory warning before the broadcast. Religious groups organized protests. Conservative organizations urged advertisers to pull out. Some sponsors quietly did. The stakes were enormous, and the pressure was intense. Then the episode aired. More than 42 million people tuned in. At the time, it became one of the highest-rated sitcom episodes in television history and the most-watched episode of the series. Viewers watched as Ellen Morgan nervously tried to confess her sexuality before accidentally announcing "I'm gay" into an airport microphone heard by an entire terminal. It was funny, awkward, emotional, and groundbreaking all at once. For one night, it looked like a triumph. Critics praised the episode. LGBTQ advocacy groups celebrated. Headlines called it a turning point in American television. But the backlash began almost immediately. ABC's phone lines were flooded. Hate mail poured into the studio. Some threats went far beyond angry letters. A bomb threat was called into the studio shortly after the episode aired. Security tightened. The sense of danger was real. Advertisers began to pull away. Some companies didn't want their products associated with a show now considered controversial. Others asked to move their ads away from episodes that dealt directly with gay storylines. The financial pressure on the network began to grow. At the same time, ABC started placing parental advisory warnings on more episodes. Ratings, which had briefly surged after the coming out episode, began to slide. In the 1996 to 1997 television season, the show ranked around 30th in the ratings. By the following year, it had dropped to roughly 45th place. The series lost a significant portion of its audience within months. The tone of the show changed as well. Writers began incorporating more storylines about Ellen Morgan's sexuality, hoping to stay relevant and authentic. But the shift alienated parts of the audience who had originally tuned in for light comedy. Some critics argued the show had become too serious. Even some LGBTQ advocacy groups felt the show was under intense pressure. In May 1998, ABC canceled the show after 5 seasons. 2 completed episodes never aired. There was no grand farewell, no proper finale, just an abrupt end to a once promising sitcom. This marked the beginning of a difficult period in Ellen's career. The industry reaction was swift and chilling. Offers dried up. Television executives hesitated. Hollywood, which had welcomed her before, now seemed uncertain what to do with her. In the late 1990s, being openly gay in Hollywood still carried significant career risk, especially for someone who had become the public face of a cultural flashpoint. Ellen later described the period as feeling like she had been pushed out of the industry entirely. You see, back in 1997, same-gender marriage was still illegal across the United States. Public acceptance of LGBTQ representation was far lower than it would become decades later. Ellen had stepped into a cultural moment that wasn't ready to catch her. But this was not the end. The comeback. Nobody expected. By the early 2000s, Ellen DeGeneres looked finished in Hollywood. Just a few years earlier, she had been the star who changed television history. Now, she was the star that the networks didn't know how to use. After her groundbreaking sitcom ended in 1998, she tried to return with a new CBS sitcom, The Ellen Show, which premiered in September 2001. It was supposed to be a reset. Instead, it collapsed almost immediately. Ratings dropped fast, critics were lukewarm, and CBS pulled it from the schedule by January 2002 after just 13 episodes. Within 4 years, Ellen had gone from cultural phenomenon to 2 canceled sitcoms and a reputation as a risky investment. For the first time since the mid-1980s, Hollywood wasn't calling. And then, she made a decision that would change everything. Instead of chasing primetime sitcoms again, she pivoted to something far less glamorous: daytime television. At the time, daytime talk shows were dominated by established giants like Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Phil. The genre was crowded, formulaic, and not considered a place for reinvention. For Ellen, it was a gamble. If this failed, there might not be another comeback. On September 8, 2003, The Ellen DeGeneres Show premiered in NBC's modest Studio 11 in Burbank, California. Expectations were cautious. The production budget was smaller than that of major daytime competitors. The studio was tiny, the future uncertain. Then the music started. Ellen walked onto the stage and began to dance. And the audience loved it. The dancing became a signature almost instantly. It set the tone for the entire show: relaxed, joyful, and safe. Ellen wasn't the controversial sitcom star anymore. She was the friendly neighbor who showed up every afternoon to make you smile. The new persona was carefully shaped. Gone was the edgy comedian navigating social controversy. In her place was someone cheerful, generous, and relentlessly positive. Her motto became simple and powerful: be kind. The strategy worked faster than anyone expected. In its first 3 seasons, the show won 15 Daytime Emmy Awards, a record at the time. By 2005, the show averaged about 2.5 million viewers every day. That's millions of Americans tuning in daily to watch Ellen dance, chat with celebrities, and surprise audience members with gifts. The giveaways became legendary. Her annual 12 Days of Giveaways turned into a television event. Across the promotional episodes, audience members received thousands of dollars in products. Over time, the show gave away millions of dollars in cars, trips, and technology. Each episode reinforced a carefully built image. Ellen as the generous, joyful host who wanted nothing more than to make people happy. At the same time, the internet was changing how television worked. Clips from the show spread across YouTube and Facebook years before most talk shows adapted to online audiences. Ellen's team leaned into viral moments before the word viral was even common. Dancing grandmas, emotional reunions, celebrity surprises, short, shareable clips turned a daytime show into a global phenomenon. By the late 2000s, her audience had grown to more than 4 million daily viewers at its peak. Then came an unexpected boost from animation. In May 2003, just months before her talk show premiered, Pixar released Finding Nemo. Ellen voiced Dory, the forgetful blue tang fish. The film became a global sensation, earning over $940 million at the worldwide box office against a production budget of about $94 million. Dory's humor and warmth became iconic, and Ellen's voice was instantly recognizable to audiences worldwide. The character's popularity continued for years, eventually leading to a sequel, Finding Dory, in 2016. By the late 2000s, Ellen wasn't just back. She was everywhere. In August 2008, she married Portia de Rossi at their home in Beverly Hills, California, shortly after marriage equality became legal in the state. The ceremony included only 19 guests. The moment symbolized how much the cultural landscape had shifted since 1997. The woman once criticized for coming out was now part of a widely celebrated Hollywood marriage. Her influence kept growing. In 2007, and again in 2014, she hosted the Academy Awards. The 2014 ceremony became legendary when she gathered stars, including Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, Brad Pitt, and Meryl Streep for a group selfie. The image was retweeted more than 3.3 million times. For a brief moment, it crashed Twitter's servers. This was one of the most viral moments in internet history. By the mid-2010s, Ellen had reached the peak of her cultural power. In November 2016, Barack Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the United States' highest civilian honor. During the ceremony, Obama praised her for the courage it took to come out publicly when few others had done so. Her business empire expanded alongside her fame. She launched lifestyle and fashion brand ED by Ellen in 2015, signed endorsement deals, produced digital content through Ellen Digital Ventures, and flipped high-end real estate with Portia. Her show generated tens of millions annually, and her yearly earnings were often estimated between $70 million and $90 million. By the late 2010s, her net worth approached $500 million. The transformation was astonishing. In less than a decade, Ellen DeGeneres had gone from industry exile to one of the most powerful and beloved figures in entertainment. She wasn't just a comedian anymore. She wasn't just a talk show host. She had become something larger, a brand, a business empire, a symbol of kindness itself. And for a long time, America loved her for it. But this didn't last. Why everyone started hating her. It began quietly in 2019 when a clip from her own show went viral. During a live interview, Dakota Johnson corrected Ellen about her 30th birthday. Ellen had joked that she wasn't invited. and Dakota calmly but firmly said, "Actually, that's not true, Ellen. You were invited," urging her to check with her producer. It was brief, but viewers saw something new. Ellen, thrown off guard, confronted by a celebrity, momentarily vulnerable. This small moment became a crack in her pristine persona. Other clips followed. In 2012, Ellen teased Taylor Swift about dating rumors, asking her to play a game ringing a bell whenever she saw someone she had dated. Swift protested, saying it made her uncomfortable, but Ellen pushed on for laughs. At the time, audiences laughed along. Years later, the segment circulated on TikTok and YouTube, reframed as coercive and manipulative. Then there was the infamous 2008 Mariah Carey incident. Ellen toasted, "Let's toast to you not being pregnant." She was unaware that Carey had miscarried shortly after. What had been playful in the moment now appeared cruel and insensitive. Rumors of arrogance and control extended beyond clips. Kathy Griffin's feud with Ellen, dating back to a 1996 guest spot on Ellen's original sitcom, painted a pattern. Griffin described feeling humiliated during table reads, and after Joan Rivers's death, Ellen reportedly refused to assist with a tribute. Griffin chronicled these experiences in her 2017 book, indirectly portraying Ellen as selective, controlling, and sometimes indifferent to colleagues. Such accounts, coupled with viral clips, began a quiet reevaluation of Ellen's public image. Fans noticed patterns. Playful teasing could become pressure, jokes could become cruelty, and kindness could seem performative. By the early 2020s, social media amplified this reassessment. Past interviews, once charming, were now analyzed for consent, boundaries, and power dynamics. Each resurfaced clip added weight, and the carefully curated Be Kind brand began to appear less authentic, more strategic. Then, in July 2020, the facade collapsed. On July 16th, BuzzFeed News published a damning report based on interviews with 36 current and former employees of the Ellen DeGeneres show. The behind-the-scenes picture was stark. A toxic workplace rife with fear, harassment, racism, and retaliation. Employees were punished for taking bereavement or medical leave. One was forced to choose between a child's bone marrow transplant and their job, ultimately losing out when they refused to rearrange the schedule. Complaints about racist jokes led to firings, leaving staff feeling trapped. Executive producer Ed Glavin faced over a dozen accusations of unwanted physical contact. Meanwhile, Lehman, head writer and co-executive producer, was accused of acting inappropriately with the male staff. Both men had operated in positions of power for years before BuzzFeed's report prompted action. By August 2020, Glavin, Lehman, and fellow top producer Jonathan Norman were fired, but the damage to Ellen's reputation had begun. Ellen addressed her employees in a company-wide video and issued a public apology. "I ran the show like a machine, not like a place for human beings. If I've ever let someone down, I am so sorry." The wording struck many as defensive rather than accountable. Social media erupted with critiques, and Hollywood insiders confirmed the culture described by staff. Actor Brad Garrett tweeted, "Mistreatment comes from the top," quickly backed by actress Leah Thompson. The contrast between her public persona and behind-the-scenes reality was stark. Be Kind now felt curated, performative, and hollow to many. The fallout was immediate. From September 2020 to March 2021, viewership plunged nearly 43%, from 2.6 million to 1.5 million per episode. Advertisers followed the audience, and revenue fell $26 million, from $131 million to $105 million. Ellen became a symbol of fake niceness, and discussions about accountability in Hollywood reached a fever pitch. By May 26, 2022, after 19 seasons and 3,339 episodes, The Ellen DeGeneres Show aired its final episode. All the while, the shadow of controversy lingered. Ellen attempted to reclaim her narrative in 2024 with the Netflix special For Your Approval, addressing the scandal with self-aware humor and commentary on fame's absurdities. Later that year, she and Portia de Rossi relocated to the UK, seeking distance from a media landscape that had transformed admiration into suspicion. One thing is crystal clear, though. In a world where fans and critics watch every frame, even the brightest star can fall, confetti and all. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.